Okay, I'm getting hungry. So, this is the final video of the day for me. This will be 12. I've done one more. Oh, all right. Mohamed requested this. He donated to the channel. Islam, Judaism, and Christianity A Conversation. I don't think anyone has noticed, but I'm actually here. I'm standing right here. No one's noticed it yet. It's been disappointing. Back to the video. Ooh, that's my stomach.
Here in Dallas, I think that the most dangerous thing for us is that this is a segregated city. I've lived in 5 major cities, and I've not lived in a place that is so separated. And I think the separation is maybe not bad for the reason you might think. It's exposure, and it's simply just knowing other people. It is so easy for me in my world of work and school and grocery stores and whatever to really only see people who look like me and who might believe like me. Way too easy. And when that is the case, then the natural exposure that we have to people who just aren't like us is so low that we can't otherize. And in places where segregation, where there is a big mix, you kind of have to learn about other people just because they're around you, right? You're working with them, you're shopping with them, you're in school with them, and you figure out that they're just people. And that I think for Dallas is probably the biggest hurdle that we have, because geography and physical division is really difficult to get over, really difficult. Nationally, perhaps, I think that there is no way to read the story of Christ as a story that is not about incredible, lavish abundance, always. And yet, I think that especially Christian groups have not been living abundantly for a while. And when we guard ourselves and are concerned about lack and try to shore up what we have to not lose any of it, we're not actually living faithfully. And that kind of, the abundance of God is so tangible and real that if we don't claim that back, that confidence and that courage and that love that abundance provides and empowers us to be, we're not going to grow. We're not going to be a force for good. We're not going to be able to claim our authority for the good that God calls us to be in the world. And I think that Christian groups, particularly in America, have that reckoning that is coming a lot faster than we wish it were.
I have a few worries. First is I sort of believe that anti-Semitism is a constant. I believe that in some periods and places it's more submerged, which I'm very happy for. And I'm really not a sort of, anti-Semitism is not a primary shaper of my Jewish identity. It is for lots of Jews. It's not a primary shaper of my, and I say that without judgment. It's not a primary shaper of my identity, but I have an awareness of it. I have a sense of vigilance about it. I think that we've been relatively fortunate in Dallas, but I sort of don't really take it for granted. And it may sound paradoxical, but the other thing I'm worried about in the sociological category is assimilation. That Jewish achievement and Jewish integration get so cushy that we lose track of who we are. As a faith community, as an historic community, as a distinguished and distinctive community. So I worry about that, and I see that as a big part of my responsibility. And I'm now shifting away from the sociological towards the more explicitly faith dimension of Jewish identity. I worry about complacency. I worry that we'll take all the parts that are warm and joyous and connective and self-affirming, which, thank God, there are deep reservoirs of, and neglect our obligation to justice, neglect our obligation to enter into the spaces that are uncomfortable, neglect our obligation to hear the stories that are uncomfortable, neglect our obligation to see what's broken and to work to be healers of that breach. So I worry that we don't rise to the level to which our tradition calls us.
Thank you.
Can I respond for maybe just faith communities in general?
Sure.
I think assimilation is an interesting idea to put forward because one of the things, I grew up in Florida, which a lot of people call, the sixth borough of New York, and I had...
We call it God's anteroom.
God's anteroom? That is not wrong. So we used to have bumper stickers that said, "When I am old, I will move to Michigan and drive slow." So point being, though, when I grew up, I had lots of Jewish friends, and every Saturday morning they would trot off to Jew school, right? And they would learn how to speak and read Hebrew. They would learn stories. Friends of mine who were raised in Jewish families did not make the assumption that they would figure out how to be Jewish unless they were taught by their church, right? By the synagogue or their school or their community center. And I think that one of the differences that Christian groups have to embrace is our culture is not Christian, right? It is, nominally there's some words that perhaps culture uses that have Christian roots, but America was founded to be this place of diversity, right? And of equality. And
well, we did have a lot of slaves running around, so I don't know if equality was really high up on the list of things that should have been.
We have slowly, almost so slowly that we don't even like to admit it, become a place where we still think that people might become Christian just by osmosis of being in America. Not true. And it has not been true. And it's really basically not been true for any person in this room, right? It has many generations of not being true. And most Christian groups have yet to cop to that untruth. And we do not take seriously enough forming people to be Christian in the way that I think my friends up here, their traditions don't make that assumption, because nobody thinks that just by being in America, you're going to learn how to be a good Muslim, right? Everyone would say, no. And so we go to a place where that tradition is passed on and taught and honored and respected in the same way that anyone who is Jewish does that. And Christians have got to own that more. And that's a danger, because I think as people of faith, all of us will lose if we don't realize the necessity of formation. Do
you know how many people I know don't go to church because they ain't about that life? But they will tell you they're Christian. They will tell you they believe in God, Jesus. Do you pray? No. Okay. I would think praying is kind of a key part to that. They're like, it's spiritual. I feel it inside of me. Okay. I feel like I could win the gold medal at the Olympics in the 100-meter race. If you put me on the line and everyone's in the starting position and I'm in the starting position and everyone takes off and I stand up and I start calling myself the winner while everyone else is running, I just came dead last. You got to do it. You can't just say it. You have to follow through with it. And I'm like, that's all you're doing. You're saying it, but you're not living that life. You're faking your way in as though it's okay. And the answer that I have gotten from a couple of them, dude, U.S. is a Christian country. We are. And it's like, no, you're not. Sorry, you're not. It's not how it works. If that were true, and I went on vacation to Pakistan, and I get off the plane, are they looking at me going, welcome, fellow Muslim? No, they're not. Because I'm not. And they could look at me and know that. They'd probably look at me and go, look at that heathen getting off the plane. I hope he's not going to continue to breathe our air. But yeah, you can't just, no, I feel it in my blood. I'm spiritual. Well, I don't care. So you got to do more than just say it.
We just assume it will happen.
Thank you. Thank you. So believe it or not, gentlemen, it's after 8:30. I know, Zoom whoosh, there goes. So I can't help but end on a wonderful question. I don't know who wrote it. It's kind of a circle back to when we all got together before we came in here. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to upset. The questions tonight have been fabulous. There are many, many others that I'm sure we're going to figure out a way to address in communication from this evening. But here's the last question. And I did not write it, see? What is the best priest, rabbi, and imam walk into a bar joke that you know? I should qualify, that can be shared in a mixed room. That can be shared
in this room, in this sacred space.
So I told them this earlier. I actually, when I pulled into to the parking lot tonight, I Googled a rabbi, a priest, and an imam walk in a bar. Just because I figured you have to know one of them, right? And I didn't know any of them. And so here's what came up, right? A rabbi, a priest, and an imam walk into a bar. And the bartender looks at them and says, what is this, a joke? That's it.
Well, there you go.
Okay.
I don't have any.
You got nothing.
I got nothing.
Wow. I have absolutely nothing. So
I don't. Yeah.
I would think that it would be something about, something about the Muslim being violent, the imam hitting someone over the head with a bottle. I would think it'd be like something like that,
Are you sure you don't have one, David, now?
So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be one of the stereotypes, right? So,
Right.
But I'm pretty sure it ends with the imam being violent. I mean, it's got to be that way. So the imam's either going to break the bottle on the bartender's head or the priest is going to get it. So.
And yet, I think we would all agree that often the better conversations for understanding are going to happen in the bars and the restrooms or around dinner tables than they are going to be in our segregated places of worship on the weekends. And so maybe that can be the great takeaway, is to find ways in our communities to come together around tables, around places where we can engage in conversation and laughter and laugh at one another.
Honestly, I was just going to say I don't drink, but I'll say this, that David has become my favorite coffee partner.
There you go,
very
coffee
quickly.
shops.
So we've done Java Me Up, and that's
Excellent.
That's the best we've done, and I've got to bring you out there as well. So.
I love coffee.
All right. We have more in common than you think.
That's right. So real quickly, just to end us, I want to say a big word of thanks to Amy for moderating us tonight.
And for all the questions. Thank you.
for David and for Omar for being here with us tonight. And a thank you to all of you, for the women of St. Michael, for everyone who helped put this together. St. Michael is really honored that you were here with us tonight in this sacred space for a sacred conversation. And we hope that it does not end here for you, that perhaps you will stay after for the reception that will be out these doors in our garden cloister, our parlor, and all over the place. Stay and have conversation. Look around the church and see somebody you don't know and go meet them and go ask them who they are and why are they here, first of all. What do they believe? And maybe make a new friend. And perhaps we will all continue this dialogue for good that will begin to change our city and our world. So thank you all for being here tonight.
Okay, I'm gonna end it here. That was pretty good. Stop. Okay, you can like and subscribe, because that helps. If you're gonna give a thumbs down, you can, but from what I hear, ring ring, yes Lord. Oh, thumbs down, they go to hell? Okay. Yep. So, I mean, sorry. There's a thanks button. You can donate to the channel if you'd like. You can ask me to react to videos, and I will. You don't have to ask me to. You could just throw monies and say thanks, scumbag, and I'd be like, oh, well, that's hurtful, but, you know, thank you. And then last thing I got to say is, not sneezing right now. But I have to say, have a good day, have a good night.